What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. My name is Chandler Rome with Tyler Stafford and Josh Reddick on the eve of the first full squad spring training workout for the Astros. Josh, how much do you miss West Palm Beach?
Two-part answer for that. Florida spring training is the absolute worst.
Yes.
But obviously miss the atmosphere and the camaraderie and hanging out with the boys and seeing the boys again. But definitely love Arizona spring training way better.
Yeah, I've never covered an Arizona spring training, but all of my colleagues that have Arizona spring training just laugh at us that are in Florida spring training because Arizona, everything's 15 minutes away. You barely have to drive. And going out in Scottsdale and the nightlife in Arizona, far, far better than anything you can get in Florida.
Everything's better when you go out there, considering your 45 minutes is your farthest travel trip. Your closest in Florida is 45 minutes to Port St. Lucie if you're not playing the Nationals, that is. But yeah, I mean, your nightlife, your food selection is just through the roof. Because I mean, obviously, we're men in our 20s and 30s, and if we're single, we're staying in Scottsdale. Let's be real. Um, so we all know what it's like over there, and it's just all around, just entertainment to nightlife to just everything. I mean, if you want to go get up and do something, you can go 20 minutes down the road, and if you want to go to Dave and Buster's, it's right there. If you want to go club in until 3 in the morning and then get up at 5 a.m. for spring training, that's your call. So it's plenty of options to get in trouble. So I mean, I will say one thing Florida has over them is a lot less options to get in trouble.
There you go. It's important.
It is when you read headlines every spring training.
West Palm has Rachel's, and that's about it.
I've heard about this place, but we'll leave it at that. I heard a lot of stories from Astros guys who were in the minors back in the day, so we'll leave it at that.
Josh, since we last talked, the news we all kind of expected did happen, and that's Bregman signing with the Red Sox. What were your reactions seeing that and kind of the deal that he got? Where did that kind of fit in for you?
I thought it was a lot. I mean, considering what the league and everything was going to portray and what he was going to get, it seemed like a lot. And when you look at stats in the last season or two, it kind of felt like a lot. But obviously, at the end of the day, you're happy for the player because you always want the player to get his money and get as much as he can. And you tip your cap to the guy for holding out and realizing what he could get done. I mean, the two opt-outs is something that kind of gives me a little bit of a hesitation because it makes you feel like there's no real commitment there. But that's just the way the game is going right now. It seems as opt-outs become a bigger thing. Little deferred money, so I think that helped out too with something that they may be able to work in another piece, hopefully for them before spring training is over. But I thought 3 years was a big surprise considering he came very publicly about being a 6-year minimum guy. And then, it comes out that he signs that 3-year deal. But when you're getting the most AAV for yourself, it's kind of hard to turn down when you're looking at that $40 million mark. Because, I mean, there's six guys, four, five, 6 guys total that are making this amount of money. So when you can put yourself in that elite company, you can't really blame the guy.
Yeah, I'm never going to be in this position. But when the numbers kind of came out and what the Tigers end up offering, like 170 or something, channel 171.
Yeah, the Tigers were 6 for 171.5. The Astros were 6 for 156, and then the Red Sox were 3 for 120.
So fully understand the AAV. I get it that the years are different. I am just saying, for me as a person, I cannot fathom looking at a contract that has 51 million more dollars and not choosing that one. I get why, but it still just blows my mind whenever these numbers come out and someone doesn't take the one that has more money.
It is weird because it all depends on what you want as a player. So it all depends on what he thought that. Maybe he thought going to Boston gave him the best chance at winning more. Maybe it just was about more money. But, the thing that I kind of look and break it down as, when you look at, let's just say, because I think, Detroit, Michigan still has income taxes. You look at the state of Texas, and if you break it down, you feel like you might be making more overall and annually by staying in Texas. I think that was something that could have been brought into play. Maybe it was. We'll never know. But if it's something all about the money, then you look at the state you're playing, and you get to play 81 games here at home. Not to mention, they always go to Arizona. Houston always goes to Arizona. You play in those states where there's no income tax. So Boston, Massachusetts, very high tax rate. Been there. I know all about it. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like for a guy making 20 million. But you know, it obviously does play out. Chandler's giving me a lot of looks right now. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I have my something crawled up my nose and it is itching like you would not believe. And
Okay.
I'm trying to not look like a complete moron on this podcast, but that's hard
You
to do.
failed.
That's
It
hard
was
to do.
terrifying.
I was guessing myself because you gave me the kind of same look when I mentioned Gary Pettis last week, or the week before. So I was like, crap, is this something that I need to figure out and make sure I'm covering? So, okay. If I do something like that, y'all just both need to go, and I'll stop immediately. Because
Josh,
obviously I don't follow as close as you guys do.
Josh, you were as familiar with the Red Sox as anybody. I mean, you came up there, you played at Fenway a bunch. On paper, it seems like a match made in heaven, ballpark wise, for Bregman and his swing. Can you do you agree with that? Is this the best ballpark that Bregman could go to for his swing? And as another one, like, you've seen that media market, you've seen kind of how the media handles things in Boston, you've seen what a clubhouse looks like there. How do you think Bregman is going to handle kind of the step up in media market after being in Houston for almost 10 years?
I think he'll be just fine. I mean, you see the coverage that we had over the years. Obviously, it's nowhere near magnified as it is in places like Boston or New York or places like that. But Houston had plenty of media coverage when we were doing what we were doing back in the late teens and now in the early 20s. But it's Bregman. Bregman always loves the spotlight. He seems to thrive in the spotlight. So that was probably another indicator for him going to Boston. The lights get a little brighter there at Fenway. From the history, the team, when you put on that jersey and it says Boston or Red Sox, it's a completely different feeling because of the history and how long that team has been and what they expect out of their players. So, and it doesn't stop at Fenway. When you're going out to lunch, when you're going out to dinner, everybody in that city knows who you are, whether you're Alex Bregman or whether you're, I'll say myself, when I was a rookie in 2011, everybody knew who 24-year-old Josh Reddick was, and I was blown away because it just goes to show the fan base is really that dedicated to their teams. And it's not just Red Sox, it's the Patriots, it's the Celtics, it's the Bruins, it's everybody that's involved in every major sport in that city. But when you look at the big picture, I think the bright lights for Bregman are something that he can do and thrive under because he's always been that pressure guy. He's always been a clutch guy. But when we go back to like the question of the best ballpark for him and his swing, probably not from center field over to left, probably because it's a big wall. We know Bregman doesn't hit the 440, 50-foot homers that you just drop out of you drop your jaw at. And I think that's what made Minute Maid Park so great for him. He could still poke it out to right because it had a little bit of short porch there. Obviously, we all know with the Crawford boxes what's going on there. But I think that what benefits Bregman is he's going to hit a lot more doubles there. He's going to hit, those balls that may have gotten out at in Dyken Park in front of the bullpen that maybe would have been outs or, singles are going to be easy doubles. Maybe more than that. And if he gets under those a little bit more, they're homers. But the thing that really questions me about Bregman is right center to right for him. That's such a big ballpark in Fenway that I think that he's such a good hitter anyway to focus on his singles the other way. If they work out to doubles and triples, so be it. But when you look at the big picture, you got to worry about him just staying center to left. He's such a good hitter. He can go to other ballparks in that division because you still play in Yankee Stadium where it's a bandbox. You still go to Camden Yards, where they moved in the left field fence finally because that was atrocious. It's just a really good, division to hit in, no matter what side of the plate you're on. Unless you're lefty playing at home at Fenway, you get a few homers taken away. But for a guy like him, it may not have been the best ballpark all around for him, but I think it's still probably one of his top three that he could go out there and get success. Because when you look at it, I predict Bregman to hit it. It's good. There's going to be a 40 double season incoming for him. He's going to hit 25, 30 of them at home probably.
Astros fans have been merciless in my mentions the last 3 or 4 days. They are tired of hearing about Alex Bregman. A lot of them say he's not on the team anymore. They don't want to hear about him. So I hear you. We will stop talking about Alex Bregman. When we come back, we're going to hear from the guys at Foul Territory real quick. And when we come back, we will talk about the Astros without Alex Bregman. We'll talk all Astros after this. But right now, a quick word from the guys at Foul Territory.
Oh, Todd Father. Remember the good old days when we would have the cards in the binders, but then they'd get all messed up and we're trying to sell online and it's just real clunky? They really actually weren't the good old days, were they?
No, they were definitely not. But now there's a better way. The Arena Club has been dominant with this. You get to trade your cards, you could sell them. But the best part for me is getting them graded. I love everything about that. This new age of getting cards graded. You could display them on your online showroom, your mobile device. It's the coolest thing in the world.
Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the all-in-one trading card platform. You have to sign up for an account at arenaclub.com/foul. Just like Todd Father mentioned, there's a process that combines AI and human grading to get the job done. Right now, 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul. Use code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul. Code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase.
Speaking of cards, look what I just got in from eBay.
I'm writing down that website.
Boom.
Brad Peacock.
Yes, sir.
Staff ace, Brad Peacock.
Staff ace, Brad Peacock. There you go.
I had to write that down because, a little fun fact I've been talking about with my wife about doing is getting every baseball card of every pitcher I've hit a home run off of, and then posting it in my man cave in my bar area, kind of see like, oh, what's this? Random pitchers? No, that's all the ones I took deep.
That's a lot of baseball cards for you, isn't it, Josh?
It's probably about 130. There's a few in there that got multiples in there, but there's definitely over 100 between my 146 career.
Who's your favorite? Like, who's the one guy that's in your book that you love to tell people? I got him. I clipped him.
Oh, gosh. Prime Mad Bum. I got Prime Mad Bum in 2012. I was the only lefty to hit a homer off of him that year. Big Game James, I got him a couple times in his prime. I'm sure there's a couple more. I can't think of them all, but there's more guys with lesser of a big name that just had no shot. I mean, the Ross Detweiler, who always comes up, who was a high draft pick in my draft year in 06. I faced him when he was with Team USA before we were even drafted. 3 for 3 off of him with a homer. Getting to the minors, 2 for 2 off of him with a walk and a homer. And then in the big leagues, I think I'm like 4 for 5 or 4. I got like 2 or 3 homers off of him in the show. And like, it's been an ongoing joke for our whole lives. It's just like, dude, you just stop, just walk me and move on. Because every time I can watch, every time I pull up the highlights to show people, he's just constantly, every time he looks at me, he's just like, oh my God! Like, here we go! Like here we go again, face. So he's definitely one that stands out. Obviously, not a bigger name, but
I got your list. It's 128. So you're right on.
That was close.
Josh, I promised the people that we will talk about the Astros, and we will. And
we're going to go around real quick.
Bear with me. This all ties in. So today, Rafael Devers talked in Red Sox camp, and this man was very adamant that he is not going to DH and he is not moving off of third base, which is problematic when you have just signed Alex Bregman, who is the reigning Gold Glove winner at third base, who has been open to playing second before, but I think if the Red Sox had their druthers, he would be playing third base. Josh, I want you to address Devers's comments. You can do that first, and then I want to, after you're done, I want to tie this into why this matters for the Astros. So, Rafael Devers, for those that don't know, is in the second year of a 10-year, $330 million contract, is by all accounts the face of the Red Sox franchise, and is now very, very publicly upset that they just made their team better by signing Alex Bregman. When you read that, what was your reaction, Josh?
Well, your first reaction is, you think, what a selfish guy. And, he doesn't seem like a team guy when you come out, when you just flat out just say no, with no explanation. It just shows a little bit of selfishness and, not the willingness to improve, because it really doesn't make sense, because in negotiations, you have to feel like they talk to this guy about, hey, we're pretty close to getting Bregman. This is something that may happen, and moving from third might be an option. And that's when you speak up your mind. And if you get asked about that to the media, especially, we go back to the Boston Red Sox media being so magnified. Give your typical answer to the media and say, you know what, it's something that I feel like I could see myself doing. Is it something that I want to do? Probably not. There's definitely different ways to answer that and be a lot better about it. And then talk behind closed doors. You get with Alex Cora, you get with your coaching staff, you pull Breggy in and like, look, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Is there a solution that we can figure this out? Boom, flat line over. You talk to the media. Hey guys, something I may or may not want to do. We'll see where it takes us and move forward. Bam. Next question. There's just different ways to answer that as opposed to making himself look like, a bad teammate, because we as we just saw, a couple of days prior to that over in Tampa with the Yankees camp, a certain pitcher was saying the exact same thing about being moved to the bullpen. So it just goes to shit. It just gives a bad vibe when you look at it, not only from your fan base, but, your teammates are watching that and go, oh man, well, this guy doesn't want to move. Are we going to think differently about this guy? So I'm with you. Guy just won the Gold Glove last year. Breggy's obviously a better option defensively there. They're both very elite hitters. I think they're both going to hit, whether one of them DHs or one of them doesn't. I don't think wherever Bregman plays, he's going to affect his hitting anyway. But I just think it's just a little bit of a bad look for Devers, considering being the face of that team and being a leader in that clubhouse.
Meanwhile, in West Palm Beach, you've got more videos of another franchise icon switching positions. Altuve, it looks like, even though the Astros didn't end up getting Bregman, is going to play some in left field this year. And the comments could not be more different. It was like, yeah, whatever's needed to help the team. So, looking at that from the player perspective, like, how does that change in the clubhouse, being on a team with somebody like Altuve?
I mean, he's the best, isn't he? He doesn't care. He just wants to play every day, and he just wants to win. And he shows that. He shows that in his attitude. He shows that in his play. Shows that on the field, in the clubhouse. He's just happy to be there. Put a glove on him, let him DH. He doesn't care. And it's great to see guys like that, because these are things that players that, this is something like maybe a platoon guy does, or like not your franchise player gets asked of this every day and every 10, 15 years, it seems like. You don't ask an icon and a franchise player who's going to be a Hall of Famer one day to move positions. So for him to have that kind of attitude about it and just wanting to be there to help everybody get that possible chance to get in there and win, just goes to show you what kind of character Altuve is, if we didn't already know, and if we needed another hint as to why this guy's the best and one of the best to walk through the Houston Astros clubhouse.
Do you have, Josh? I mean, we get to see Altuve just from a very limited time, when the clubhouse is open and closed. But like, I don't think, I think in Houston, people appreciate it, just how selfless and how just, I mean, this guy could be the biggest diva in the world, and he is the farthest thing from it. You were his teammate for so long. Do you have any like stories or anything about Altuve that come to mind as you're like, man, like this guy could run Houston if he wanted. This guy could run this team if he wanted. He could have more power than the manager, the GM, and he is just as selfless as can be. Is there a moment or anything that sticks out to you about maybe something that illustrates that in your time with him?
I think just how accommodating he is with everybody. He's always in a great mood. You never see the guy angry or mad or yelling at anybody or anything at himself. But I think just the willingness to be accommodating to everybody. He's there to help you. He asks for help from others as well when he needs help. Just an all-around happy guy. When you're happy at the ballpark every day and genuinely cheering for your team. And I think that's one of the biggest things you lose as a player, an attribute that's so rare nowadays is players really wanting their teammates and their whole team as a whole to do well. Because you'll go on some teams, I've been on a couple of them, where there's guys in there that may seem like they want you to do well, but deep down under their breath, they're wishing you're not. They're like kind of hoping that you don't do well. But when you get in that clubhouse, it all started with him. And that was what made our atmosphere so great there for 4, 5, 6 years, was top to bottom. Everybody was all about being there for everybody. Pitchers were talking to hitters. Hitters were talking to pitchers. It wasn't like a cliquey separation in the clubhouse. We were all working to improve and to help everybody get better and help us get there to win. And that's what makes things so special. When you got the guy like Altuve, the franchise icon, willing to be that silent leader and do that, it makes everybody want to follow suit. Well, if this guy, the Hall of Famer who just goes out there and does what he does every day, is going to be this way, then there's no other way yours truly should act any different, or the guy next to me should be any different. We're here to help each other win, and the ultimate goal is to win. So when they start with that, that makes it a different kind of place and a special place.
The last time we talked, Josh, about Altuve possibly going to left field, it was kind of more of, we were like, oh, like we'll believe it when we see it. Like that's just to get Bregman back. And now Bregman's not coming back. And I watched Altuve do only outfield drills today in West Palm Beach. It was kind of the outfield drills were enough to kind of be kind of shocking. But then after the outfield drills, Mauricio Dubon went out to second base. Jeremy Pena went out to shortstop. Some of the other big league infielders came to do their drills, and Jose Altuve sat on the side and he watched them do the infield drills. That was odd to see. Is it surprising to you at all that this is looking more and more real? This is looking like this is going to be something that he may not play there primarily, but he is going to play at least a portion of this season in left field. Does that surprise you at all that they're making this move right now?
It is a little surprising because I thought we were all under the impression that when Bregman signs, that was going to be the big move for him to make it kind of a priority. So it is kind of a bit of a surprise. I did see the picture where he was just hanging out with the coaching staff, so that was pretty fun to see and different. And then, by the way, I told you guys it was going to be Jordan's glove. I called that. Called that. Yeah, I would love, I think getting more and more reps and seeing more video would be a big indicator for him. But, once he's out there for live batting practice, that first game, that first ball that he gets is going to be a huge sign to whether they go, this could work, or going, oh, never mind. I think, the first week of games is a big step and a big indicator for that, because once you get those live reads off the bat in a game, it changes everything from drills to batting practice. But I think, yeah, definitely kind of a bit of surprise how urgent it seems to have become to keep him out there, even without Bregman, because I think, like I said, I think we were under that impression that, well, if we get Bregman, then we're going to move him out there and bounce him around. And now it just seems like regardless of what happened, that was the plan all along.
Does that, I mean, obviously it's spring training, you're kind of doing your normal prep or whatever. During the season, if you're trying to learn a new position, is that something that, can affect you at the plate or, playing second base, whatever? Like, is that something that you have to worry about with Altuve trying to learn a new position?
I don't believe so. No, he's too good to even worry about that. Once you get into that box, everything goes out the window and the door of playing defense and in that regard. And I speak from personal experience a lot on this podcast, but when I was doing my transition to first, it was almost like a relief to get into the batter's box, because I was so nervous, because I've seen how hard these guys hit the baseball. And, they hit them hard to me in right field, much less being 100 feet closer. So just being terrified and nervous while playing first base for 2.5 innings before getting up to the plate was just a huge stress on myself. So to get in that box was kind of like, oh man, okay, now I can just focus on hitting and not have to worry about that for the next 3.5 minutes. So maybe that's one way to look at it, to kind of give him a relief to not focus so much on it. But he's so easygoing and easy-minded that I don't think it's going to bother him one bit. He's going to go about his day, do his work. He's going to get his, 180 to 200 hits again and be the normal guy. So I don't think it affects that guy. Other guys for sure, but with a guy like Tuve, I highly doubt it.
Fortunately for the Astros, it's been a relatively uneventful first 5 days in camp. Everyone's here. No one's hurt. Nothing. Knock on wood, as Josh just did. Nothing massive has happened that we need to get reaction to. But there was a couple things that have happened the last a couple things that players have said that I think, Josh, I want you to weigh in on today. First of all, with the caveat, it is February 17th, and any talk about batting order at this point in spring training is kind of eyewash. But for some reason, it was brought up many times today, batting order and who could bat second, who could bat where. I think it's pretty clear who the top 5 hitters in the Astros batting order are going to be. It's going to be Altuve, Alvarez, Paredes, Christian Walker, and then, kind of go from there. put those in any order you can.
In that order. Okay, any order. Okay.
In any order you want. Okay, but here's where we're getting to with the batting order. There was some considerable angst from corners of fandom last year that Yordan Alvarez hit second in the order, which is kind of a more modern way to construct a lineup. You put your best hitter second. Corey Seager hits second for the Rangers for a reason. Joe Espada was asked today if that's going to be the plan going forward, and he said he's still considering a lot of things. He said Isaac Paredes profiles as a two-hole hitter. That could be a guy that they look at. But, if he can extract 30 or 35 more plate appearances from his best hitter in the two-hole, it's a place you probably want Yordan Alvarez. When Yordan Alvarez was asked about it, he said he doesn't care where he hits. He just wants to hit in one spot and never be moved. He just wants to get into one place and not move. Josh, is that a common refrain from hitters that they like to know? I'm going to hit leadoff, or I'm going to hit fourth, or I'm going to hit sixth, and I'm not moving from there unless there's an injury or something happens. But most of the time, 150, 155 times a year, I'm going to be hitting in that spot in the batting order.
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing to worry about, because you go home every night and you wake up every day going, okay, I'm set in stone where I'm going to be. And make sure your mind rests. For me, it was always about changing my game plan when I was bouncing around. When I hit second in 17, I knew where I was going to be every day. I was going to be between Springer and Altuve and be completely happy with that. As the years went on, I obviously moved down to the bottom, which I'm not complaining about because our lineup was historically good. So that became a little bit different factor. But I think it can change your mindset a little bit whenever you're bouncing around. And for me personally, I think Yordan is a three-hole hitter. Obviously, he's one of your best. I think he's your best hitter, if not Altuve is your best hitter. But I personally, I like Altuve in the two-hole. I like Yordan in the three-hole. Then that gives you Christian Walker in the four-hole. That gives you your righty, lefty, righty right there. You figure out your leadoff hitter, I think, in a little different manner, maybe. That's just me. Obviously, I'm not a GM or a manager. But yeah, I'm with you. Those first five spots become a little bit of a different thing. And I think Paredes becomes a really good five-hole option for you. And then you follow that up with a guy like Yiner. I think the leadoff spot becomes a big issue because you don't know who you're going to be starting at that point from center, left, right, pick second for that matter. Who's going to be that guy? But I think that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 column is my perfect identification for this lineup. For me, I think they would piece together better that way. Obviously, Yordan has plenty of success in the two. On the flip side of that is, your three-hole hitter. Think about how many times he comes up with 2 outs and nobody on. So that becomes a big issue as well. Whereas opposed to but on that flip side, you got Altuve hitting in front of you, regardless whether he's hitting leadoff or second, and you're 2 or 3. This guy's going to be on base a lot. So I think that changes everything too. But it seems the way the game's going now is the two-hole becomes that better hitter. Because let's be honest, I wasn't the best hitter in our lineup in 2017. Why was I hitting second? Altuve was. He hit third. There's my argument. So I just think it depends on how your lineup is stacked, how you piece it together. But I really prefer Yordan in that three-hole because he gets that protection with Walker in the 4. It gives him protection with Paredes in the 5 and Diaz in the 6. I feel like it gives him a better all-around protection spot in the three-hole.
It's interesting you mentioned changing your approach depending on where you were hitting in the lineup too. And I mean, I even in Little League, I remember doing that as a kid, right? Like when you're hitting fourth, you come up and you're, for whatever reason, you're like, oh, this is the time where I'm going to swing for the fences. Or, if you're hitting first or second, you're just trying to get on base. And I remember that was a big thing with Springer, right? That he wanted to hit first just because it helped his approach to take more pitches and to settle in a little bit better and not swing as wildly. So is that true? Like when you're playing, do you approach the game differently depending on where you're at in the lineup?
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, I always go back to personal experiences and personal reference. We may get tired of me talking about my experiences. But when I was hitting 2 for this team, I hit Springer and Altuve. We all know there may have been a maximum of 5 pitches seen between the both of us. So my role became a little bit more of all right, let's take till we get a strike, or take till we get a good count. because we don't want this pitcher to come up there and have a 7-pitch first inning and fall into a rhythm and be into a roll. That kind of became the same thing for me as the bottom of the lineup hitter as well, because when I got switched to like that 9-hole and I kind of stuck in that 9-hole, I was kind of in the same spot because I had Springer ahead of me and then Altuve behind him. So it kind of became an issue, like, all right, well, we still need to take some pitches because we don't want this guy to have another quick inning. But at the same time, I'm at the bottom of the lineup for this reason. I can't really let a fastball go down the middle and, not help turn over my lineup. My job was there to help turn over the lineup and kind of be a second leadoff hitter for these guys and get on base for them. So that was kind of my thing, and not really provide the kind of power or driving runs and that kind of thing. So it can definitely vary. It all depends on who's around you too. I mean, when you're hitting 6, 7, 8, I can remember being in my Oakland days and, Monday I'd be hitting 3, Tuesday I'd be hitting 3rd, and then Wednesday you get the lefty. And if I'm even playing, I'm hitting 7th or 8th. And, I'm the only lefty in the lineup at that point. You're really hurting me more than you're helping me by moving me, because you took me out of my 3 spot with all my protection. And now you put me in the 7th, 8th spot where the bottom of our lineup is with no protection. So your game plan and your mindset changes a lot, because you got to realize who's hitting around you, who's behind you, who's in front of you, how quickly the guy had an inning last inning. It all becomes a different thing. It becomes that chess game of breaking everything down. Like, okay, well, I don't have as much protection. I can't be as aggressive here because he's going to try to fiddle around with me. I'm the only lefty here right now. He's going to try to off-speed slider me to death, look for my fastball and get it. And if I get one, you can't miss it. So it was all about getting less and fewer mistakes in the bottom, as opposed to having that better protection and getting more mistakes at the top.
And that's something that Alvarez talked about last year. I mean, Altuve, we know as well as anybody, like, goes up there, and if he sees 3 pitches, that's a lot. I mean, he goes up there, he's swinging the minute he steps into the batter's box, and that was an adjustment for Alvarez, who had hit, 3rd, 4th, 5th in the order his whole career, and it's like he's like rubbing his bat and getting his pine tar and everything ready, and like he looks up and he's up to bat, and that's a tough adjustment. And I think it's something that I think by the end of it he got used to. I think he got used to. And look, I mean, he had a fantastic year last year. I don't think hitting second last year impacted his numbers at all, as we see. But it's something that I think Jordan said today he's going to hit wherever they tell him to. He hasn't demanded to hit in one spot. He has asked, if you're going to put me in one spot, keep me there. And, the season may not allow that. You never know. I mean, this team didn't have Kyle Tucker for 3.5 months last year. That forced some different batting orders. So, but I think as the season goes on, I think you'll see maybe a more set place for Alvarez. And then, Josh, one final quote that stood out to me these first 5 days before full squads. One of your 2 remaining teammates from the 2017 team, Lance McCullers, who is, by the way, throwing bullpens. He's doing well. They expect him. He's not going to be ready for opening day, but it does sound like he's doing about as well as can be done for McCullers. But everyone's really been getting asked throughout this camp about kind of the trajectory of the franchise after the offseason moves. You trade Kyle Tucker, you salary dump Ryan Presley, you don't bring Bregman back. I mean, those are 3 pretty huge moves. And I thought Lance had a very interesting perspective on the whole thing. And I'm going to pull up the quote now for everyone on YouTube to see it. And I'll read it verbatim for those that aren't watching on YouTube. So Lance was talking about the 2025 Astros, and he said, maybe coming out of the chute, we're a little bit more step by step. Hey, let's get out. Let's get hot. Let's put ourselves in the situation where we win the West, then move to the playoffs, versus showing up to camp and saying it's World Series or bust. Now, I don't think that team, I don't think it's one of these situations where, they're going to come into camp with lesser expectations. This is still a club that expects to be in the playoffs. They expect to win. They expect to do all that. But do you see where he's coming from, Josh? That maybe this isn't a team that you have to go in and be like, oh man, like if we don't make the World Series, this is a colossal failure.
Yeah, I think that, he's kind of putting out there what everybody's kind of feeling. But they're not the Astros of old anymore. They're not the guys that we can pretty much pencil in, March 1st, AL West Division champions in the Houston Astros. I really think that, the dynasty is kind of I wouldn't say on its way out the door, but they're kind of walking that way as to where the powerhouse at Houston Astros aren't there anymore, and they're kind of realizing that this is something we may have to work a little harder for now, and we have pieces to still do that. So there's no confidence in there's still I said that wrong. There's still plenty of confidence in this team, in that clubhouse. But I think he's just realizing and making it public. Like, look, this is going to be a harder job. This division's gotten harder. Players have gotten better. We're not the powerhouse we used to be, and this is the way it's got to be. It's going to be a full team effort, and we can't really rely on certain pieces anymore. We got to get out there and like you said, step by step becomes a huge thing. Piece by piece, day by day. It's a very cliche answer. You take it one game at a time, but that's really the best way you can do it. You get step one, you win the AL West, you worry about your home record after that. You get the best, was it still the best record gets the home field advantage and that kind of deal. So win the AL West first, then worry about anything after that. So I completely agree with this comment. Nothing wrong there. And, fans are going to take it the way they want it. There's going to be plenty of fans that understand. There's going to be plenty of fans that maybe take it the wrong way, but I'm here to tell those ones taking it the wrong way. It's not a negative comment. It's just some truth being thrown at everybody's way. And this is the way we've got to accept it. The team has to accept that. So that's just a guy stepping up and being a leader, in my opinion, just putting it out there of what's really in front of us and what's really in front of this ball club.
Yeah. And it takes the pressure off too, right? I mean, you still have the desire and the confidence to make the World Series, right? It's not like you're saying we're going to be happy if we just make, that's not at all what it's saying, but it does take some of the pressure off, because you could almost feel it last year where it's like, oh, we got off to this slow start, like everything is crumbling down. And so, yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense to do that. We were joking about it before we started, Josh. I keep forgetting to tell you this. So when you first came to the Astros and you did all the Ric Flair stuff everywhere, I I tweeted at the Astros,
Oh boy.
hey, you guys should make like Wooston stuff. So that was me. I was the one that came up with Wooston. That's where all the shirts and things came from. So
and
there you go.
you screwed yourself because you didn't patent anything.
I didn't even get a shirt. I got nothing. But I keep forgetting to tell you that that was from me.
That's all you. Well, yeah, man. I feel you there. That's terrible. You don't give me credit because I'm with you there, because I started. I don't know if Chandler, you've been around long enough to remember the Bernie lean in Oakland, right?
Yes.
We did the Bernie. So that was me. Coco, Chris, and Jerry Blevins get all that love for that. Complete lie. And then I get no love for bringing wrestling into sports. I was one of the first ones to bring a wrestling title into the professional sports world, and I get zero love for it because everywhere you go now, there's
college football.
There's title belts everywhere. Triple H and WWE sends one to every major champion of every sport now, and I get zero love for it. And I'm the one who started it all, so. But I'm obviously not mad or bothered by it one bit.
Yeah.
I still got Triple H on speed dial in case I need him. So he hooks me up pretty good. So I'll take that trade any day.
Do you still have Ric Flair on speed dial? Can you call him when you need him?
I don't really call him a lot. I'm more of a texter than a caller. But I guarantee if I called Ric Flair, if he didn't pick up, he would call me back within the hour. Because he's always very responsive. Like I messaged him, probably 2 weeks ago after his daughter came back. She came back after a 1.5-year hiatus of being injured. And she's actually headlining WrestleMania one night. And yours truly is going in April for the first time ever to Vegas for WrestleMania. And so I was like, hey, it's Vegas. I know the Nature Boy's coming. And that's exactly what I said. I said, Nature Boy's coming. I'm buying you a drink. And he says, oh, yeah, I'll be there. Daughter's headlining. We'll be there. I was like, perfect. I need an energy drink from you, and I'm buying you a drink, and we're hanging out. He's like, sounds good, buddy. Miss you. And that was great. That was it. So
I truly cannot wait to get the play-by-play of that Vegas weekend on this podcast.
Oh, my goodness.
That will be our most viewed pod.
It's going to be a good one because it's a 2-day event now. WrestleMania is a 2-day event. Buddy and I fly in Friday, show Saturday, Sunday. Little golf in the morning, both days. But the beauty of it is WrestleMania is going to be over at like 9 o'clock that time. So that gives me plenty of times to hit the roulette tables, hit the blackjack tables, hit some slots, and really,
You're
really.
ready.
Oh my God, man! Vegas is one of my favorite spots, and I could literally sit in a casino in Vegas and slow play for 12 hours straight and be completely happy. Because I'm not a guy who's going to go out there and throw tens of thousands down. I'm going to put like 300 or 400 down on a hand or not even a hand, just a stack. And I'm like, here's my 50, here's my 100.
You're losing me and Chandler here, I think.
You saw me give you a look right there when you said $300 or $400 a hand. I'm like,
No, I corrected myself real quick because I was like, man, I looked down at 4 blacks and I'm like, no, one's enough. That's.
I told you I was a junior high teacher, right?
and I'm just a lowly sports writer. So no, there will be no. If I can get one black chip, that would be excellent.
Jacksonville's right now. In Jackson, or is it Jacksonville? Jacksonville has
the Hard Rock's in
Rock.
Miami.
Hard Rock,
I think in
right?
Miami. I think.
Is it Miami?
I think. I could be wrong.
Is it Tallahassee or Jacksonville? I thought it was one of those with a hard. I can't remember. It's like Miami. Miami is like an hour and a half away, isn't it? That's what
it is. Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay.
I'm going to have to look it up to give me a reason to get out of here, to get out of West Palm Beach, where the Astros full squad will have their first workout tomorrow, and we will be back to talk about it all. There's not been a ton that's happened, but still we managed to get 41 minutes of good podcast to you today. So we will be back at some point this week to discuss the latest with Jose Altuve possibly playing left field, who's going to replace him at second base, and maybe just the overall tenor of a franchise that's changing directions just a little bit. But we'll be back. Keep rate and review us on Apple, subscribe on YouTube, and please, please, please tell your friends, tell anybody that wants to listen that we're just getting geared up because the Astros are just getting geared up. So we will see you guys soon. We appreciate all the love and all the feedback, and keep on watching. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Appreciate it.